Om Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru
Guru
Paramparam.
Paramparam.
Om Sahana
Om Sahana
Bhavatu
Bhavatu
Sahano
Sahanau
Bhunaktu Sahaviryam
Sahaviryam
Karvavahai
Karvavahai
Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma
Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma
Vidvishavahai.
Vidvishavahai.
Om
Om Shanti
Shanti
Shanti.
Shanti. Okay, so we had been talking about the upasanas, the Samhita upasanas, and Samhita we had said was the Vedic combination of letters, which we call Sandhi. And then we talked about the four alambanams, which is the earlier letter of the Sandhi. There's Purva Rupam, the later letter of the Sandhi, Uttara Rupam, the junction itself of the two letters, which is called Sandhi, and the new letter which comes up during the Sandhi, which we call Sandhanam. I hope you remember all this. Purva Rupam, Uttara Rupam, Sandhi, and Sandhanam. And these four are the substratum, the alambanam, on which the upasana, the object of upasana is going to be invoked. And we said there are four objects to be invoked, one on each of these alambanams. And these four objects are taken from five different areas, five different fields, which we call adhikaranam. And that is why Pancha Adhikaraneshu. There are five different adhikaranams from where these four objects are going to be taken. So that gives totally 4 into 5, 20 objects. And the five fields for the adhikaranam are what? The five adhikaranams are what? Jyotisham, Vidyam, Rajam, and Adhyatmam. These are the four things we saw. With that, we had finished the initial portion of the commentary on the upasanas. And now we are going to talk about the first upasana, the adhilokam. So if you look at verse number, where is it now? Verse number 3, mantra number 3. I'm looking at the mantra pushpam. So those of you who have mantra pushpam, you're looking at the Taittiriya Upanishad, Prathama Shiksha Valli, the third Anuvaaka, which is called Samhitopasanam. And out of that, the third mantra. Each mantra is numbered. And these numbers are in sequence. And they are not necessarily related to the Anuvakas. So don't get confused. There are Anuvakas and there are mantra numbers, especially in this mantra pushpam. The first mantra number was the Shanti mantra. The second was Shiksham Vyakhyasamaha. The third mantra starts with Sahano Yashaha. And we had completed the portion up to Ta Mahasagam Hita Itya Chakshate. The next portion in the same third mantra is Atha Adhilokam. Atha Adhilokam. So Atha Adhilokam now begins, Atha means now. Now begins the, I'm just muting all of y'all. Somebody has unmuted themselves.
Nah.
Okay. So, one second. Yeah. So, Atha Adhilokam now begins the meditation related to the particular lokas, Adhilokam. And the important word here is, of course, Atha. Atha means now. And you will find that in each of the upasanas, you will have Atha Adhilokam, you will have Atha Adhividyam, Atha Adhiprajam, all begins with Atha. And therefore, Atha has to be understood. Shankara says that Atha has to be understood in the meaning of Darshana Krama, the sequence in which the 5 upasanas are to be undertaken. Therefore, first is Atha Adhilokam, means first you take the Adhiloka Samhita Upasana. Then you take the Adhijot, you can look at the next mantra, the 4th mantra. It says Atha Atha Adhijautisham. So the Adhijautisham mantra, Adhijautisham Upasana is to be done in sequence after the Atha Adhilokam. And after that is the Adhividyam and so on. So the Atha indicates that the Upasanas are to be done strictly in the sequence in which Shruti has given them. One should not change the order at all. And this is why Shankara says that is the reason why Shruti adds Atha before each Upasana. Not only to say that now the Upasana is being commented upon, but also to say that now after the previous Upasana, this Upasana is now going to be taken strictly in sequential order. Okay. Then, what is the next one? Prithvi Purva Rupam. Prithvi Purva Rupam. So what does it mean? Prithvi is the prior letter. We said Purva Rupam is what? The letter which is the first letter, and the next letter is the Uttara Rupam. What are these letters? These are the letters which are forming the Sandhi. And I hope you are clear. These are the letters which are forming the Sandhi. There's one letter which is the previous letter and one letter which is the post letter, and the Sandhi is formed between the two. So he's saying the previous letter is this, and therefore this is what you should be doing. Okay. Now, so Prithvi Purva Rupam, earth is the previous letter. Dhau Uttara Rupam, heaven is the next, the posterior letter. Akasha Sandhihi, Akasha is the space at which Sandhi takes place, is a locus. So Akasha Sandhihi, space is the locus. Vayuhu Sandhanam, the new letter which comes, the linking letter is Vayuhu. So earth, prior letter, Prithvi Purva Rupam. Heaven, the posterior letter, Dhau Uttara Rupam. The locus, Akashaha Sandhihi. The new letter which comes, the linking letter, Sandhanam, is Vayuhu, and Itya Adhilokam. Thus ends the meditation on the lokams, on the worlds. So in any combination, in any Sandhi, the parts involved are the earlier alphabet, which is called Purva Rupam, the later alphabet, which is called Uttara Rupam, the junction at which the alphabets meet, that is called Sandhihi, and the additional letter which comes up because of the Sandhi, operation of the Sandhi, that is called the Sandhanam, the joining alphabet. Right? Of course, in some cases, for those of you who are aware of Sanskrit, not all Sandhis have the Sandhanam. Can you give an example? Anybody? What Sandhi doesn't have a Sandhanam? Very simple, actually.
Sometimes when Visarga is followed by, I think, Ba or other such, I think it's soft or hard, one of them, the Visarga drops and then there's nothing there.
Yeah, that is also, that comes as Yo. Sorry, that's one of them. That is, for example, you take O, A plus O plus Ma. What is it? The Sandhi of A and O and Ma is what?
Om.
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 So nothing, no fresh letters come out, right? A and O has just converted into O. So there is no Sandhanam there. That we should be clear about, that not in all cases Sandhanam won't be there. So we should not get confused. Okay. Now, for example, let us take the word Namaste. Namaste is Namaha plus Te. So Namaha has a Visarga. So that Visarga becomes the Purva Rupam for that Sandhi. The Te becomes the Uttara Rupam. The place at which they meet is the Sandhi. And what is the Sandhanam?
Sir.
Half sa is the
Sir.
sandhana, right? Now, if you take, let us take the example of namaste and apply this, right? Because you can use any sandhi. In this upasana, it just says use a sandhi, use the samhita upasana. So any word which is combined, you can take. So I am just, it may not be the ideal word, but just for the sake of understanding, namaste. So Pura Rupam is Prithvi. So the Prithvi Devata is to be invoked on the Visarga, which is the Pura Rupam. And Swarga Devata, Dhau is Swarga, Dhau Uttara Rupam is to be invoked on the Te, which is the second letter, which is later letter. And on the junction where the Visarga and the Te meet, which is the Sandhihi, the Akasha Devata is to be invoked. So Akasha Sandhihi, this is the meeting place between the earlier alphabet and the second alphabet. The earlier alphabet in this case is the Visarga, and Te is the Uttara Rupam, the second alphabet. The junction is Sandhihi. Akasha is to be invoked there. And Vayuhu Sandhanam, the fresh letter which comes up, the half sa on that, Vayu should be invoked. So this is how the Upasana is done. So Vayu should be invoked on the Sandhanam. In short, what are we doing? The entire universe is being visualized on these 4 points: Pura Rupam, Uttara Rupam, Sandhi, and Sandhanam. And Vedic upasanas are meant for broadening the mind. So the Shruti here is saying that spend some time in visualizing this entire universe on the Samhita, on the Sandhi which you have chosen. That is why it's called Samhito Upasana. You can choose any number of Sandhis. For that, of course, we have to be familiar with the Sanskrit language. And any of those Sandhis you can take and spend time visualizing the universe itself. So what happens when you visualize is that Shruti says that your mind takes on the form of whatever you are visualizing. And since here you are visualizing the entire universe, Prithvi and Swargaloka also, and the Akasha, intermediary space. You are visualizing the whole thing. Therefore, your mind takes on the form of the universe itself, or the Jagat itself. And therefore, there is a forced expansion of the mind. And then he says, Itya Adhilokam. With that, the Samhita, the Adiloka Samhita Upasana ends. Okay, so the visualization is the universe is Brahmanda and my body is Pinda. Pinda is the body, Brahmanda is the universe. You are visualizing the whole universe on the alphabet here. Understanding is that my body and the Brahmanda are not different. So that you will see during the next few upasanas. One thing I want to point out here is that the third mantra, which we saw, which I think, Arvind chanted. Arvind, did you chant all the third and fourth also?
Yes, Raviji.
Fourth also he has chanted, which is there in the what you call in the group. So if you look at the third mantra, actually ends at Akasha Sandhihi. The upasana is not complete there. Okay, the upasana continues in the fourth mantra with Vayu Sandhanam and Itte Adhilokam. So the mantras are not upasana wise. So that clarity we need to keep in mind. Don't get confused. One mantra is not necessarily one upasana. It can be part of an upasana, maybe 2 or 3 upasanas and part of one upasana. So that you have to make out with the context. Okay. Right. Now, Vayu Sandhanam. Okay. Vayuhu Sandhanam Ityadidokam is over. Now we have to go to the next upasana. And since this is already chanted by Arvind, I won't trouble him. So the next word here is Atha Adhijautisham. So that reads as Atha Adhijautisham Agnihi Purvarupam Aditya Uttararupam Ap Sandhihi Vaidyutta Sandhanam Itya Adi Jyotisham. That's where the second upasana ends. As you can see, the next mantra, the next part of the mantra is the third upasana. It says Atha Adi Vidyam. So right now we'll look up to Itya Adi Jyotisham. This is where the second upasana ends. So it begins with Atha Adi Jyotisham. So now begins the meditation on the Jyotihis. Jyotihis are the luminaries in the sky, all the bright bodies in the sky, all which give light. Okay, so he says Agnihi Purarupam. Now again I am not going into the Namaste or any other Sandhi. We will just stick to the Purarupam, Uttararupam, Sandhihi, Sandhanam. I hope it's all clear, but when you actually do the meditation, if you do the meditation, you have to take one Sandhi, one word which is a combined word, have you to take, and then look for which is the Purarupam letter, which is the Uttararupam letter, where is the Sandhihi, and where is Sandhanam, and then invoke what the Shruti says. So here we are just going by the generic term Purarupam. So Agnihi Purarupam, fire is to be invoked, Agnihi is to be invoked on the first earlier letter, Aditya Uttararupam, the sun, Surya Devata, is to be invoked on the posterior letter, on the next letter. On the Sandhihi, Apaha, water is to be invoked, and Vaidyutaha, Sandhanam, lightning is to be invoked on the Sandhanam, the linking letter. And he says, Itya Adi Jyotisham. Thus ends the meditation on the luminaries. So Jyotisham is derived from the word Jyotihi, any bright or luminous object. For example, Chandra, that is the moon, Surya, Agni, etc. Right? And that is why in Sanskrit astrology is called Jyotisham, since it deals with the sun, moons, planets, all of which are luminous objects. And if you look here, Agni Purvarupam, fire is the invocation on the first letter. Fire is what? The light principle. The Vyashti fire, the Tejas principle. The fire principle obtaining on earth is called Agnihi. So that is to be invoked on the previous letter. You can also say Agni Devata is being invoked on the previous letter. On the later letter, it is a Samashti level, Aditya Devata. The sun is Agni, sun itself is Agni Tattvam. So that Agni which is obtaining on earth, we call Agni Devata. That same principle, the Tattvam, fire principle, in the upper lokas is called Aditya. So Agnihi on the lower lokas, Aditya on the upper lokas. Okay, this is interesting derivation. Ap Sandhihi. In between earth and heaven, that is the Dhau, whatever, in between the Sandhi, the connecting place where the earth and heaven meet, right? So you are saying Agni on earth and Aditya on the heavens, the upper lokas. What is the connecting place? The connecting place is the Sandhi. On that connecting place, what will you have? Apaha, water. So what is the water which is present in between earth and heaven? Remember, all these are figurative only. What is the water which is present between earth and heaven?
Oceans. Rainwater, clouds.
Rain. Okay, so here Apaha refers to between earth and heaven, Apaha is present. And what connects the sky and the earth? Sandhanam. What connects? Vidyutaha. The lightning connects because lightning originates in the sky and reaches the earth. So that is the meaning for this particular upasana. Whenever you do this upasana, if you do the upasana, this is how it is done. And he says, Iti Adi Jyotisham. Thus ends the upasana on the luminaries. So if you look at the two upasanas, in the first upasana, the entire universe is meditated upon. In this Adi Jyotisham upasana, the second one, we are actually invoking the natural forces. So the first is the entire universe, the second is the natural forces. Okay. Then next one is Atha Adhividyam and Acharyaha Purva Rupam. Purva Rupam. Okay. So before we go through this, since this particular upasana extends into the fifth one, Arvindji, can you please chant the fifth and the sixth mantras?
Yes, Raviji.
And actually, you can just do the chanting, and Tanmay is not there, so you just do the chanting, and you can put it up in the group later. There need not be a call and response.
Okay, sure. आचार्यः पूर्वरूपम् अन्तेवास्युत्तररूपम् विद्यासन्धिः प्रवचनगं सन्धानम् इत्यधिविद्यम् अथाधिप्रजम् माता पूर्वरूपम् पितोत्तररूपम् प्रजासन्धिः प्रजननगं सन्धानम् इत्यधिप्रजम् अथाध्यात्मम् अधराहनुः पूर्वरूपम् उत्तराहनुरुत्तररूपम् वाक्सन्धिः जिह्वासन्धानम् इत्यध्यात्मम् इतीमामहासंहिताः य एवमेतामहासंहितां व्याख्याता वेद सन्धीयते प्रजया पशुभिः ब्रह्मवर्चसेनान्नाद्येन सुवर्ग्येण लोकेन.
Thank you, Arvind. That was very nice chanting. So those of you who are actually not there in Arvind's chanting class, you should, because I'll repeat again and again that chanting is the only way that you'll remember these mantras. Without remembering the mantras, the meaning also will never be remembered. Okay. So he says, this is in mantra 4, Atha Adhividyam. Now begins the meditation on the knowledge. And remember what I said, that Atha indicates that this meditation on knowledge, on Vidya, has to be done after the meditation on the luminaries, which has to be done after the meditation on the lokas. So this is the third meditation, Atha Adhividyam. And now, what are the fields? The first field was the lokas. The second field was the Jyotishams, the luminaries. The third field is Vidya. And what are the various factors involved in the Vidya? So he says, Acharyaha Purva Rupam. On the Purva Rupam letter, you have to invoke your Acharya. Okay. And Antevasi Uttara Rupam. So Antevas, that word has to be broken properly. That Antevasi Uttara Rupam is in the first word of mantra 4. It breaks into Antevasi Uttara Rupam. The student is the posterior letter. The later letter is the student. The first letter is the teacher. The Sandhihi, where the teacher and the student meet, that is the Sandhihi, that is Vidya. Knowledge is that junction. And what is the link which comes up? Pravachanam, Sandhanam. The teaching is the link. So teacher and the student meet. The meeting place is for Vidya. That is why Vidya is Sandhihi. And the Vidya is imparted through the teaching, the Pravachanam. So Pravachanam Sandhanam. Iti Adhividyam. Okay. Ready with this? This is where the knowledge on Vidya ends, or meditation on Vidya ends. So third one is the educational field. And what is the Acharya? Acharya is Achanoti, Acharayati, and Acharyati. Three things are there. Achanoti, he collects, he organizes the knowledge from various Vedic sources which he has received. And Acharati, he teaches also. Acharayati, he also follows what he teaches. So sthapayati acharye, he asks the students to follow and learn. And swayam acharate asma, he also follows what he teaches. So the guru does three things. He gets the information, combines them, organizes them so that he can give it to the student. Then he teaches the student, asks them to follow that particular way of life, and he inspires by following the same way of life. So that is the Acharya. The Antevasi is Antevasi can be looked at as Antavasvasi. Anta is very close to, the one who lives close to, Samipe. And what is that? The student lives close to the teacher. So Vasi is the one who lives. Antevasi means one who lives close. And you have to supply one who lives close to the Acharya, which means one who lives in the Gurukulam. So Antevasi is a Gurukula Vasi, a person who lives in the Gurukul, means a student. And Vidya Sandhihi, the teacher and student come together for one purpose only, having knowledge. How is this knowledge communicated? The Sandhanam, it is a link. What is the link? The class, the Pravachanam, the discourse. So in this class, for example, what we are doing is the Sandhanam, it is a link. So iti adhividyam. With this, the meditation on Vidya is also over. Okay. Then next one. Next one is the fourth upasana, fourth Samhita upasana. Atha adhiprajam. Atha adhiprajam. This is the meditation on the family. So now let's look at it. Mata Purva Rupam. Mother is the previous letter. So Atha Adhiprajam means now the meditation related to children or family. You can take it as family. Mata Purva Rupam. The mother is the earlier letter. The Pita Uttara Rupam. The father is the later letter. Sandhihi. The place at which the mother and father meet, that is the Praja, the child, the progeny, Praja Sandhan, Sandhihi, and Prajananam Sandhanam. Prajananam means the process of procreation. So mother is the previous letter, father is the later letter. The place at which they meet, Sandhihi, is the child, is the Praja, the child, and Prajananam is the Sandhanam. The procreation is the link which produces the child. Iti Adhiprajam. Thus ends the meditation on the progeny. Now again, if you look back, you started with the cosmos, the universe, lokas. Then you came down to the natural forces available in the universe. That was samashti, right? Then you moved into education and then family. And now what is left? Now the individual is left. So we are gradually moving from samashti to vyashti. You started with the lokas, you came to the forces, you came to educational institutions where there are more than one family involved. Then you came to one family. Natural movement has to be to the individual. And therefore he says, Atha Adhyatmam. Now here, of course, the Adhyatmam is in the next mantra. Sixth mantra starts with Adha Adhyatmam. So now begins the meditation. Adhyatmam means individual. And then Adaraha Anu Purva Rupam. Adaraha Anu. So there is Uttara Anu Purva Rupam. Okay. Then Adhara Hanuhu Purva Rupam. The Adha is the lower part. So Hanu is the jaw. So Adhara Hanuhu, Adha, lower. And the next one you can see is Uttara Hanu. So two parts of the jaw. Two jaws are being talked about. The mouth basically. The lower jaw and the upper jaw. So Adhara Hanuhu Purva Rupam. On the earlier letter, you will invoke the lower jaw, Adhara Hanuhu. Hanu means jaw. J-W, jaw. And Uttara Hanu, the upper jaw, is invoked on the posterior letter, on the second letter. And at the space at which both the jaws meet, we are saying that Vak Sandhihi. The word, the speech is Sandhihi. The speech is generated where the lower jaw and the upper jaw meet. And what is the sandhanam, the link? The link is the jihva, the tongue. Jihva sandhanam. The tongue is the link. So, iti adhyatmam. Thus ends the meditation on the individual. So, very restricted. What is being done? Physical parts of the body are being invoked. And we may think that, suppose you consider what is the most active part of your body. We may think that our hands are very active, our legs are very active, our mind is very active, all that we think. But here Shruti says that actually it is your mouth which is very active. It's talking all the time. And therefore, we will take the mouth for the purpose of the upasana. So adhaha is lower. Anu is the jaw. And both the lower and the upper jaws are active when you're talking. Right? So Hanuman means the one who has a long jaw. So that's why the Hanuman, the name is there. And where the two jaws come together, they produce speech. And what is the speech? What is the link between the two? The tongue, jihva, the sandhanam. And one should learn from here how this tongue, which is the softest, one of the softest parts of your body is the tongue, and one of the hardest parts of your body is the teeth, and how this tongue is constantly moving between the teeth, right? The softest part of your body is constantly dashing here and there between the hardest part of your body. What should you learn? From the tongue, one has to learn how one should live in this universe without, getting caught in the family. So you be part of the family and yet not be bound by the ragadvesha of the family. That we can learn from the tongue, because the tongue lives in between the teeth and does its best not to get bitten by the teeth. So iti adhyatmam. This is the fifth upasana, the adhyatmam. All these five put together is one maha samhita upasana. So this is the samhita upasana, one of them, right? Similarly, you can take any other sandhi and you can do all that. But you must do all these 20. One upasana is all these 20. And then that's a maha upasana. And then you take another sandhi and then do on that also. Okay. And as you know, the four factors were called Purarupam, Uttararupam, Sandhi, and Sandhanam. They are all the alambanams, that entity on which you are invoking all the objects. So with this, the upasana portion is over. And they are called Maha Samhitaha. And Shankara in his commentary defines upasana for us. He says upasana is the continuous flow of a similar thought. So mental thought. So mental upasana only. Upasana is mental only. And it is a continuous flow of one thought, not mixed with any other thought. So I'm not going into the Sanskrit part of it. I'm just giving you the description as given by Shankara. Shankara says very clearly that upasana means one continuous flow of thought, or the same thought. It need not be one thought, right? It can be thoughts on one object. For example, if you are thinking about Saguna Brahman, then any thought which is connected with Saguna Brahman is part of the upasana, but should not be mixed with any other thought. For example, a Pizza Hut thought must not come in there. And not only that, Shankara says that this thought must be Shastra Ukta Alambana Vishaya. Must be with a Vishaya, which is the Alambanam for the Upasana, which is Shastra Uktaha, clearly specified as such by Shastra. It has to be sanctioned by Shastra, and the method of Upasana is Yatha Shastram. It should be as prescribed by the Shastra. And this he says is the well-known meaning of Upasana. And he adds here that in Upasana, it is just not, once if you repeat a mantra, it is not Upasana. Repetition is necessary. That is what is Upasana. So this is the definition of Upasana. Okay. Now what? Now he comes to the phalam, the fruits of the Upasana. Okay, before
One
that,
question
any question?
may I
Yeah,
ask,
please go ahead.
Acharya? In the first two examples and last two, it is from the Uttar one is looks like the higher, and the Purva looks the lower level kind of, except in the teacher student thing.
Yeah, so it's not to be taken because the consistency is not there. So we
Okay.
just take it as, you have to do it exactly the same as Shastra says. So you cannot reverse. And therefore, since the
Okay.
consistency is not there, we don't take that meaning.
Okay, thank you.
Om sir, I have a question.
Yes, Vinita.
Sir, so which words are the ones which Veda would prescribe for doing these upasanas? Is there any particular?
Any word of which you come
Any
to,
word.
any word, but you must
Okay.
know that is why that's why this thing was prescribed. The Samhita Upasana is because in the earlier days, everybody knew the Sandhi, everybody knew what sort of words combined, they knew what was the Sandhanam, everything was known. Today,
Right.
very few people know Sanskrit. So anyway, it's not very relevant today, but we are doing
Right.
this only for the academic part of. We should know what it was.
Right. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay, now we come to the phalam. And Shastra says that the phalam, the consequence of an action, is determined by the motive. So that we saw in earlier discussions on adrishta karma, adrishta phalam, right? For example, a criminal may use a knife and death can take place. A doctor also uses a knife and death can also take place. The external events look similar, but the adrishta part of it is different. The motive is different. And therefore, according to Shastram, it is the motive with which you undertake a karma that determines the phala of the karma. And how do we know what is the motive? It is done by sankalpa you take. You make a sankalpa before you start a karma. And the sankalpa can be for artha kama, material benefit, or it can be for spiritual benefit, dharma moksha. For example, sakama upasana or nishkama upasana, it can be. And there is a smriti pramanam for this. Krishna says in Gita, when I do sakama karma for results, I have to be very, very careful about attending to the rules of the upasana. But when I do karma for chitta shuddhi only or for moksha only, any mistakes will not be a hindrance. Do you remember the sloka? Second chapter. So, neha vikrama nashosti svalpam alpasya dharmasya. Okay, when this upasana is practiced in a nishkama way, what are the benefits? So, this upasana means we're talking about the samhita upasana, right? When we are practicing it without having a sankalpa of something materialistic, what is the benefit? Because you are looking and invoking various lokas, Prithvi, Puralokam, etc., there is an expansion of the mind. And as I said that time, mind assumes the form of the object that is being visualized. And that is why in the old days you will find that temples were big, houses were big, everything was in very big shape. That was the first one. The second benefit is that since I am meditating upon the totality, on the samashti itself, what happens? I develop a respect, a reverence for the universe. And that is why, in our culture, when you get up in the morning, you have to put your foot on the earth, right? Of course, now you have floor, but we are saying the floor is equal to the earth. So you put your foot on the earth and you do namaskaram to Prithvi Devi, asking pardon for having put your foot on her. And therefore, for you, in our vision, everything is sacred. And this vision of sacredness this vision of this reverence which I have for everything as being sacred, this will help me develop a Vishwarupa Darshana, the total view of the universe as the Lord itself. And this view is what Krishna called Divya Chakshuhu in chapter 11. Not that something new is there, but whatever you see earlier as the world, now you see the same object as the Lord, as the body of the Lord. That is the second benefit. And the third benefit is that for every object which you are invoking, for example, sun is there, the moon is there, the acharya is there, the mother is there, the father is there, the book is there, the teaching is there, you develop respect, you develop reverence for everything, and therefore my mind begins to acquire the capacity to focus upon the teaching. And the fourth one is, because you meditate upon your own body, upon the organs of your body, therefore I develop reverence for my own body also, right? So hence we say Deho Devalaya Proktaha. The body is said to be the temple. And the benefits of this upasana, because you are invoking Ishvara, the benefits are what? Chitta Shuddhi, Chitta Ekagrata, Chitta Vishalata, Chitta Naischalyam. All these are different words. Chitta Shuddhi is one. That is purity of mind. Chitta Ekagrata is one. That is the one-pointedness of the mind. Chitta Vishalata is one. That is the expansion of the mind. Chitta Naischalyam is one. Mind being able to not move or focus very clearly on its object. And therefore, benefits of Nishkama Upasana is that I will develop a very strong mind, a very mind capable of a lot of focus, which is useful for me when in Vedanta Shravanam. It will help me gain Atmajnanam. And these are all mentioned here. He says, Iti. Did we read that? Yes, it is part of the sixth mantra only. After Ityadhyatmam, he says, Iti Mahagam Hitaha Ya Evam Eta Mahasagam Hita Vyakhyata Veda Sandhiyate Prajaya Pashubihi Brahma Varchasena Nadhyena Swargyena Lokena. So, Iti, in this manner, Imaha Mahasamhitaha. So, Iti Ima is Iti Imaha. In this, Iti is in this manner. Imaha Maha Samhitas, these great samhitas, these great sandhis, these great conjunctions, Yaha Veda, that person who meditates upon these. So Veda here is not knowledge, Veda here is not the Vedic text, Veda here means Upasana. This is the clarification given by Shankara in his commentary. Yaha Vedaha, one who does Upasana upon these Mahasamhitas in this manner, what happens to him? Eta Mahasamhita evam vyakhyataha. In the manner in which it was described above, what happens to him? Sandhiyate. He is blessed with what? Prajaya, with children, with Pashubihi, with cattle. So cattle means, in the old days, cattle was wealth. So we can take it as lots of material wealth. Brahma Varchasena, with that special effulgence, the radiance which comes out of a lot of Vedic knowledge. So Brahma Varchasam, you will come across these words very frequently. Brahma Varchasam means that glow in your face because of the study of the Veda, because of the assimilation of the Veda. So that is one thing. So what are the things? Children, cattle, the spiritual radiance, and Anyadhyena, agreeable food. Food which is easily digestible. And those are all the Ihaloka Phalam, Phalam in this world. And the last one is Swargyan Lokena. And the Swarga also he gets. That is Paraloka Phalam. So this Upasana gives rise to all these Phalams. And Evam Veda, the Upasana should be done in exactly the same manner as prescribed in the Upanishad. And he gets all these Phalams. Why is that so? Because Yatha Yatha Upasate Tadeva Bhavati. The phalam is always in accordance with the upasana. For example, if I meditate upon Ishvara as Saraswati, embodiment of knowledge, then the phalam is jnana. If I meditate upon Ishvara as the embodiment of strength, then the phalam is Shakti, Balam. And here, and of course, this is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita also. Can you remember where Krishna mentions, in whichever way people meditate upon me, I give them that only. Come on, guys.
Chapter 12.
I want this sloka. So I will, since you are not getting it, I leave it to you. You can post the sloka. There's one particular sloka where he says that whatever you meditate upon, in that way only, I bless you.
Chapter 6, sir.
No chapters. Where is the sloka? So, okay. I mean, it's okay. We are not yet remembering the whole thing by heart, but if you can get your hand on it, please put in the group so that everybody can know. And if nobody can get it, I will put it tomorrow.
Injannevam sadatmanam.
No. Okay. Now what is the upasana we have been seeing? It is a sandhi combination. Sandhi is what? Combination. Therefore, he will get a combination of whatever he is meditating upon, because there are two things meditated upon, right? And therefore, look at this word anyadhyena. It is adyam annam. Adyam means adana yogyam, fit to be eaten. Annam means what? Food. So adyam annam is food fit to be eaten, as well as paraloka phalam. Swargnena lokena, the heavenly world he will get. He will, of course, go to the higher lokas depending upon the quality and quantity of the upasana. And depending on how well it was done, he will go to Bhavar Loka or Suvar Loka or even Brahma Loka. Right? Karma plus upasana gets you the Brahma Loka also. No, Shankara doesn't comment on this, but there are sub-commentators who say that if you look at the context so far, what have the students come for to the teacher? They have not come for Prajaya and Pashu and all that. They have not come for children or for wealth. They have come purely for what? Sadhana Chatushtaya Sampattihi. And therefore, you have to say that Upasana will give material benefits if done as Sakama Upasana. What are the material benefits? Pashubhihi, Praja, Anyadhyana, Swargyena, Lokena, all that, Swarga, etc. is material benefits. But that is if you are doing the Upasana as Sakama Upasana. But we all know that if you don't have a Sankalpa for material benefits and you are doing it as Nishkama Upasana, then it will give you what? Chitta Shuddhi. That has to be understood. That is mentioned specifically by sub-commentators. Also, while we are the subject, you should note that the details of the Upasana are very, very sketchy. Right? So, no details of the Upasanas are given, and therefore, in the earlier days, these are all passed on, but they are not there in the Upanishad. As a result, these Vedic Upasanas are no longer in use in today's world, and most of us who do Upasanas, we do Upasanas based on Puranas, Bhagavatam, etc. we do. And therefore, this study is only a matter of academic knowledge. With this, the third Anuvaaka is over, and the first Upasana is also over. Okay. Any questions?
Can I give the answer to the Bhagavad Gita verse?
Yes, Meda.
4th chapter, 11th verse. Ye yatha mam prapadyante tam tathaiva bhajamyaham.
Absolutely. That's the verse. Okay. So one must remember all this. That is why we say that when you come to Upanishad, especially now, so far the Upanishads were fairly simple. Now they are tough Upanishads. And Shankara Bhashyam is very, very extensive. So one must remember the Gita also. One must remember the previous Upanishads also. Okay. Now we are on the Anuvaaka 4. So we still have some time. We can go a bit on it. So Arvind, could you chant the 7th mantra, please?
Yes, Raviji. Yaschandasamrishabho vishwarupaha छन्दोभ्योऽध्यमृता आत्सं बभूव समेन्द्रो मेधया आस्पृणोतु अमृतस्य देवधारणो भूयासं शरीरं मे विचर्षणं जिह्वा मे मधुमत्तमा कर्णाभ्यां भूरि विश्रुवम् ब्रह्मणः कोशोऽसि मेधया पिहितः श्रुतं मे गोपाय आवहन्ति वितन्वाना.
Thank you. Okay. Now, where are we? Now we are on the Anuvaaka number 4. So he says, Yaha. So for that you have to see the second statement. From there, if you break it up, Yaha Adi Sambhabhuvaha Amritat Chandobhyaha. That is the second statement broken up. Yaha Adi Sambhabhuva Amritat Chandobhyaha Rishabhyaha. Rishabhyaha Chandasam Vishwarupaha. So that is the word breakup of the first two sentences in the mantra. The first part of what I am saying is from the second sentence. The second part is from the first sentence. So, yaha adisambhabhuva amrita chandobhyaha rishabhaha chandasam vishwarupa. Okay. So, what does it mean? Yaha adisambhabhuva. That is manifested. So, yaha, you will find later Shankara says that yaha is equal to omkara. So, yaha adisambhabhuva. That omkara which is manifested, chandobhya amritat, from the eternal Vedas, amrita chanda. So, chanda is basically referring to the Vedas because they are in metric form. So, amrita chandobhya, that omkara is manifested, which is manifested from the Vedas, which are eternal. Rishabha is the greatest. Chandasam, among all the Vedic mantras. So, in short, among all the Vedic mantras, Omkara which emerges from the Vedas is the greatest among all the Vedic mantras. And what is that Omkara? Vishwarupaha is endowed with manifold forms, has many, many forms. Then the second part is Mendroho Medaya Pranotu. So, Saha Mendroho Medaya Pranotu. Saha Indraha Mas Pranotu. Saha Indraha Mas Pranotu means that Indraha, and again, Indraha here has a technical meaning. It is not Lord Indraji, it is Omkara itself. So, Saha Indraha, that Indraha, Mas Pranotu, made strengthen me. How? Medhaya, with intelligence. And He Deva, that is the next sentence. He Deva, Bhuyasam Dharanam Amritasya. The breakup is He Deva, Bhuyasam Dharana Amritasya. O Lord, Bhuyasam Dharanaha. May I become the enjoyer, may I become the Dharana, the one who carries Amritasya, the carrier of immortal wisdom. May I become the carrier of immortal wisdom. And may Shariram Vicharshanam. Vicharshanam means healthy. May Shariram, may my body Vicharshanam be healthy. Jihha may Madhumattamaha. May Jihha, may my tongue Madhumattamaha be very, very sweet. And Vishruvam, may I listen Bhurihi again and again, Karnabhyam, with my ears, to what? To the scriptures. That you have to add over here. So, Karnabhyam, Bhuri Vishruvam is basically, may I listen again and again, repeatedly, using my ears. And may I listen to what? To the Shastram only. And then, Brahmanaha Koshaha Asi. You are the abode of Brahman. Kosha here is the sheath or where Brahman is situated. So, O Lord, you are the abode, you are the residence of Brahman, and Pihitaha, veiled. That Brahman which is veiled, Medhaya. Okay, now here the second Medhaya is there. That has to be understood carefully. This Medhaya is not the Medhaya of the earlier Medhaya. The earlier Medhaya was what? It was wisdom. Here it is worldly knowledge. So this is, hey Brahman, you are the, hey, oh Lord, you are the abode of Brahman. But that Brahman is Medhaya Pihitaha. It is what they call veiled because of worldly knowledge. And Shrutum me Gopaya. Shrutum me, whatever has been heard by me, Gopaya, do you protect that? Okay, you will notice that the last word in the mantra is still left. Avahanti Vitanvana. The last sentence is still left. That is, actually, it should be read with the 8th mantra, so that we will not take it up right now, right? So we are stopping at Shrutum me Gopaya. And may you protect me, protect whatever I've heard. That is what he's saying. So this Anuvaka is talking about 2 spiritual sadhanas, Japa and Homa. So Japa is mental repetition of any particular mantra or any particular statement. And Homa is, of course, a Vedic ritual. Both these are being presented in this 4th Anuvaka. And Shankara says, Medha Kamasya. Japa is for developing Medha Shakti. Medha Shakti is 2 parts, Grahana Shakti and Dharana Shakti. So Medha Shakti means the capacity to acquire, Grahanam, to acquire knowledge, to assimilate knowledge. And Dharana Shakti is the capacity to retain the knowledge. It is not sufficient to get knowledge by Shravanam. Your mind should be capable of retaining that knowledge also. So he says, Japa is meant for that. Medha Kamasya is meant for getting the knowledge and retaining the knowledge also. So for example, while he says, Homa is meant for those who desire material wealth. Shankara is very clear on the distinction. Japa is meant for developing Medha Shakti, but Homa is meant for those who have Sankalpa for material wealth. So Japa is what? In the form of chanting, mental chanting also. Homa is in the form of a ritual. So Upasana is a mental activity, Japa is a verbal activity, and Homa is a bodily activity. And what you are doing is you are offering Ishvara Prarthana over here. You are offering a prayer to the Lord. Ishvara can be visualized in any form, right? And he necessarily has to be visualized. Because Ishvara is limitless, he is necessarily formless. We can't visualize a formless entity, and therefore we visualize the Lord, the formless Lord, with the help of Alambanam, the symbol. We are already familiar with the Alambanam from the previous Upasanas. The Alambanam here is going to be what? It is the Omkara. Thus, what you are going to do is Omkara Rupa Parameshwara Prati Prarthana. Prayer towards Ishvara, who is visualized in the form of Omkara. What is the benefit for that? Jnana Yogyata Praptihi. And fitness in all fields, physical fitness, verbal fitness, emotional fitness, mental fitness, intellectual fitness, everything is there. So with this, we'll stop. The actual words, actual description, we will see in the next class. So any questions? You all wanted a taste of Karma Kanda. I don't know how many of you are enjoying it. But all this is a taste of Karma Kanda.
It's more complex section.
That is because there's a lot to be remembered, right? The Karma Kanda has very specific rules and regulations and specific deities, specific mantras. So you can imagine what kind of effort went in the old days, which is why they were all very bright. They remembered everything. Okay.
I think Acharya, we got so used to Jnanakanda and so used to Jnanam that this seems to be so complicated.
Actually, this is the simpler part. Anyway, so with this we'll stop. Yes,
Acharya,
Jignesh. Yes, Jignesh.
till now we have done like upasana, so we have done in Saguna Ishvara upasana only. We have all such upasanas we have not heard only before.
Yeah, so these are Vedic upasanas. Since the details are not being given in the Upanishad, one has to presume that they were passed on from hand to mouth in the oral tradition, and the details have not survived, and therefore you can't, do the upasanas now because the details given here are very sketchy. You can't do upasana based on that. So they have died out. And of course, they have been replaced by different upasanas, which you find in all the Puranas, Bhagavatam, etc.
Thank you.
Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat. Om Namah Shivaya. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you, Acharya.